Welcome, everyone, to the Contact Center Perspectives podcast. I'm Steve McDonald, your host, and today we have a very special guest on, Filip Popovic. And Filip, you are not only the head of the Relationship Center for Avon worldwide, and that is a massive job. But in that, in your experiences, and you talk at a lot of conferences, it's the way that we first met. But you actually, when we first started talking, you said one of your proudest accomplishments in life was the fact that you were a CDO, a Chief Dad Officer. And so you have a beautiful family and children. You're at home right now in Montenegro. And I think you said it's something like 40 plus Celsius right now. So thank you for bearing the heat and coming on today. Before we get started, and we're going to be talking about how do we embrace a new vision and an evolution in customer experience. And it's what you're doing and what you're implementing every day here at Avon. So we have a great opportunity, but I'm going to allow you to maybe expand on your background a little bit, and then we'll dig right in.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Steve. So from all of the things you call out, the most important one, like Chief Dad Officer, and I keep being that one since I got kids, and I'm very proud of that job, obviously. But then in addition, I really have to highlight it's 43 plus today, actually,
Oh,
at this moment. And
oh,
I'm having some kind of a health issue if I'm under air conditioning. So you can imagine me, lovely life sitting outside terrace, looking on a seaside, but also having a heat of 43 plus.
oh
That's
my.
my current environment, which is amazing. I mean, I got used to that environment, and I encourage everyone coming to Montenegro to check if they can survive our reality. So let us start. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Okay, fantastic. So I'm going to jump right in. And, you have three pillars of transformation when we're thinking about customer experience. And if you wouldn't mind taking us through those three pillars and just your thinking about that.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Steve. So basically, it's shortly starting with kind of how we evolve our relationship center into the experience center. When saying that, basically, at the moment, as we are part of a social selling company, Avon is well known as a social selling company. We do care a lot about the relation in between us and our consumers, but there is a clear space to evolve that place into the one experience center that actually is going to help us to address a customer need real time, basically, beyond just answering on the call or writing an email reply or basically doing some system setup for our consumers and representatives that we work with. It's more about actually how we can make sure that from the moment they join us until the moment they place an order or receive the order, they have this great experience with us. And that's a very important pillar, I would say, and we look after that one. But then to combine this experience setting, we also would like to make sure that we have a clear understanding of what are the real needs of our consumers, of our representatives that we work with. So basically, that's why we set up a forum that we called Consumer Experience Board. And what we are doing there, we are actually setting up a live connection with people that we work with. So not only waiting them to call us when they have a trouble, which is one pillar, but then basically also setting up a clear and open communication with them also in the time when actually there is no trouble, but they might give us certain feedbacks, what we can improve, how we can improve. So basically as a clear space to hear them, their needs, and then actually, obviously, like every other company, we have to sit back and understand what are the areas we can actually further improve and work on. And then last but not least, as every other call center within the company, we are treated as a spend department. You're just spending money to us. A lot of colleagues would say that. But what we are now heavily working on and actually having, I can probably share that you already have few million sales results, is actually we are working on to the revenue generator area as well. We call it value creation center, which actually is a clear part of call center or actually this care activity where on the spot when reps call us to sort out some issues or being interested about certain programs, we can still offer them some special offers or some products that we do believe that they are in a focus that might not seen, or also offer some special discounts to them. So I can say actually this initiative start like very carefully because again, we are part of sales organization and we don't want to take anyone's job from their own hands. But still, while we are talking with our reps and our consumers, our goal was how we can make sure that we convert maybe call that they call us for some trouble, we convert it into some positive discussions and more meaningful to both of the parties, them picking up on a best products with a good price and us also picking up on some additional revenue in this case. So those are three pillars basically we are constantly and continuously working on.
You know, what's absolutely amazing, and you said it right, is that we're looked upon as cost centers, we're looked upon as a support center. We often have to kind of scratch and claw to earn the seat at the table, right? In terms of impacting the bottom line growth and revenue of the business. But you're just talking about it. The contact center is a sales center, right? We're cross-selling, we're upselling, we're keeping people happy, we're keeping them loyal, right? There is a tremendous impact that we have on the bottom line, but we don't always have the tools to advocate and, upwards to C-suite and management about don't put us into the box of a cost center, right? With KPIs that contain us. The more that you allow us to have, room and rope to grow, that we can do tremendous things for the business. And there's so many executives that are going to be listening to this podcast that would benefit from your advice on how to advocate, right? How to get the seat at the table, how to get the right resources to have the right team to do the kind of things to create a customer experience center overall that provides tremendous value. Like, how would you help us understand the best way to advocate internally to accomplish this?
It's a very interesting challenge, by the way, because the key challenge is there is a sales stream in the company. And in one side, this might be completely wrongly understood. No, we are not trying to handle that part of the job, neither to maybe work on any new business, at least at this point of a time, but we are trying actually to somehow fill the gap that is existing when reps are calling and then being maybe angry on us even or dissatisfied about something. We simply can offer them something more. It's going in line with our need to improve their experience. So how better than actually to the people that are there to buy something, you promote them certain special offers and something that might be exciting. But again, as you mentioned, there is a very important balance we have to make sure that it's happening. And on the other side, like proving that we deserve this role even within the organization. But then on the other side, I truly believe that there is no company that is not looking for additional sales. I mean, that company is not existing, obviously, most probably. I would love to learn if there is such someone can call out if they belongs to this company. Obviously, not sales by at all money, but this might be a very healthy sales because discussion is happening when actually they call us. I'm not saying it's on their cost, but when they are available, they call us, so we don't bother them basically. That's very important. It's a not aggressive campaign of bothering someone and doing a sales when we find some time to call them. It's a moment when actually they already dedicate time to us. And we would like actually to make sure that these discussions are happening in a goodwill and then with some positive results. Obviously, like our goal is okay, if we have 100%, like 100 people calling us, let's have 10 or 15 of them selling something to them, or at least additionally promoting the offers to them, because sales might not happen on spot. But if you attract them with some offer, they might think about and come with some sales later. So this is really not with the purpose to rush deliver some additional sales, but rather to somehow complementary close the call on a better way and somehow with positive energy around. And like we were trying in a years to do this. I would say that in only last couple of, not years, but like couple of quarters, we managed to do this properly. So I would say that first of all, why not to try? I mean, it's almost cost neutral because yes, we are spending a bit of a time while talking with rep and the vendor will charge us a bit more because talking to them. But then also, if we don't try, we don't know whether we are capable of doing that or not. But then when you try, then you start proving that you are capable of doing it. But let me just share a simple thing as like whenever you reply on an email to your consumer, why not to have attached the special offer or actually the most exciting offer of the month to that reply of the email? We're not having this type. It was more about some other disclaimers and thank you letter, link for the survey and all these things, but rarely or almost never offer. Now, in all our replies, you will definitely receive the most attractive offer of the brochure or a campaign or something that might be very meaningful for our reps. And yes, we are tracking 10 to 20%, depending on the market, 10 to 20% of our consumers we are tracking to that. But guess what? Like we start with 1 or 2%, and then we learn by doing. So, I mean, how to convince was the challenge, was the issue of not working that. And then when you start working on that, the results are definitely there. I mean, it's about every person at the table will actually then sort it out how this to happen rather than actually saying, okay, this is not successful initiative because, I mean, a lot of companies are in this area. You cannot talk to the bank that they are not offering you additional credit. You cannot talk to some additional services. You cannot talk to the mobile operator that they are also not offering you something. They are bombarding us with additional SMS campaigns, email campaigns, and all these things. So why not use this opportunity? And when you talk to your consumers, also offer them on a very polite and a human way. I do believe in this. And again, Avon is a social selling business. So we do believe in this way of connections and interactions. And it's working. In Avon, it's working. So I challenge everyone else to at least try as an answer of how to convince everyone doing this.
You know, it's interesting because what you're talking about here makes so much sense, but it's a mentality shift. Most contact centers don't think of themselves first and foremost as a sales opportunity. But if you start to try and you track and you refine and you show performance, now all of a sudden you have a different language that you can talk to your upper management about, right? To the C-suite. You know, they live in the world of KPIs that travel to revenue, right? That reduce costs and increase revenue. And so if you can perform and you have the data and you can tell the story, then all of a sudden you can start to, in your list of, experience center, value center, why not? You mentioned the word revenue, right? A value center is producing revenue. It's a revenue center. But if we don't think of ourselves that way, then nobody from above is going to ask us for that information, right? It's incumbent upon us to put that story together and tell that
Exactly.
story.
Exactly. And then the other point is like, I don't hear any of my peers outside there that companies are not looking for a saving, especially nowadays. Like everyone is looking for every additional euro of saving. But what about actually when you touch zero, you have zero money, correct? So what about actually trying to utilize your current resources and then you see if we are selling a couple of millions as additional sales, that would mean that actually we get rid of some hundreds of euros as a pure add to our profit. So that means that actually we also neutralize our cost. So it's not only getting rid of cost, the only way to lower down your cost. It's also bringing a bit more sales and being ready to prove that sales is coming through your work. Basically, that's key focus is there. Being sure that this sales comes because of your activity, and then everyone is easily convinced about working in this area.
Well, I want to ask something more about something you said earlier because you talked about customer advisory boards. And, I'm sure the whole reason why you're doing that is because you want to learn from your customers, right? The customers are the highest voice of authority in the business. You have to learn the language to talk to them. So I want to get into that, but everything this is akin to, it's an analogy to learning to talk to in the language of your internal customers, your upper management, right? That has control over your budgets and resources and your ability to do the job that you want to do and be proactive and contribute to the company. So everything that you just said, everything as I was hearing it was you have learned very well how to speak the language of the internal customer, right? In terms of revenue and how to produce that. So now, if we kind of switch and go over 90 degrees here and say, okay, but the voice of the actual end customer that you're selling to, most contact centers would say, I have calls and I have, conversations with customers every single day as part of a contact center. Why do I need to do something else? but you put together these customer advisory boards. So why did you do that? Why did you take a whole nother step and say, I'm not getting everything that I want just from tickets and interactions through the contact center. I want to learn more. Why did you make that decision?
Yeah, and thanks for asking that. Um, Even a certain leadership style, basically, because you might become a part of nonsense and spend 80% of your time with 20% of the people, but guess which
Mm,
one? The most problematic one. And
yes.
then there is no growth. I mean, when you have to manage someone basically instead of working. So I would rather work with the ones who are really bringing an added value. So in call center, when you convert that in call center, you're working only with the one who are having an issue. And they are not guilty of having an issue, but they have an issue with us. And you have like 10% of consumers calling you because they have a continuous issue with us. And what about 90% of them?
Right.
Silent does not mean that we are great.
Right. Right.
Why to wait them to actually be annoyed by us or to be completely treated as a disrespect if actually we can from time to time reach out to them and ask them about the opinion? It's similar to post-call survey. If someone calls you for some issue to be sorted out, post-call is clearly related to that discussion. But that does not mean that your call center strategy should be looking only for this, what the ones with trouble told us.
Right.
Because, I mean, let's be also honest and open. Trouble are not new to us. We know that we are having delivery issue. There is a program understanding issue. There is a line setup issue. There is a system issue. I mean, as long company exists, this is going to exist. But what about those reps who work with us without issue? They know how to deliver their own and our sales results because those are common, obviously, results. So, and we don't hear them. We don't know what they need.
No.
So it's kind of a future thinking, basically. It's not ongoing and firefighting. It's about future thinking and what are their needs. Because let me bring an AI or bot here. What else might be better if we don't bring a self-service, at least to please those ones who don't have an issue? They still have needs. So
Right.
at least in self-service area, you can help them bringing some materials and some quality answers because maybe they just don't want to talk to us. They might rather search or look for other opportunities. So why not use their knowledge and how they work with us and fill the knowledge base with exactly those not happening interactions as an example. It's an investment in future. So you are hearing me in era of making a lot of savings. The compromise would be let us bring some revenue so we get rid of some pressure of a saving, and then this pressure you reinvest into the future because you know what, next year comes very quickly, and then our bosses again ask for a new wave of a saving, correct? Like
Right.
until zero, no happiness. It's kind of for that. So that's the balance we are trying to look for, and basically hearing the ones who don't have an issue with us and really bringing a healthy business and healthy relation. Let us hear them. That's the purpose. That's the key purpose. And somehow in a few years, we used to miss them. That's why we have them back.
I have to tell you, I hope people are taking notes here because you have laid out how to create an experience, a value, a revenue center, but also ground what you're doing in not just the disgruntled, customers, but the ones that are lots of times the loyal customers, the ones that love you the most, are the ones that never call in, right? And you have to learn from them. I cannot tell you how many times on this podcast and others I have talked to C-suite executives that said the number one thing that we need to do is we need to build trust and understanding amongst our customers. And if we do that well, we will succeed. And that's what you're doing. That's being proactive, right? It's very easy to sit back and say, we have so many conversations, we don't even know what to do with the data. We're trying to get AI to wrangle it because we have so much data, we don't even know how to make sense of it. Why should we bring in more? But those one-on-one conversations that you're talking about are so, so important. The voice of the customer is the highest voice of authority in every business. And if you're not setting yourself up to listen to them, then you're setting yourself up to make your own decisions. Because guess what? We're all smart. We know how to make decisions, right? We don't have a lack of ability to do that, but that's where we start to go wrong if we're not being directed by the voice of our own customers. That's my takeaway from what you're doing here.
Thanks a lot, Steve. And just a few days ago, I was observing my discussion of my mom with one mobile operator here. She's with them 15 years. It was her first call to call center. I don't know. They put some additional charges, not big one, but she called them to ask, okay, what's going on? And the level of her dissatisfaction for few euros let her, and it's not about money. It's about treatment of someone who is 15 years with you. And it's a first time, I mean, she's an older lady and she's not this profile that will look all the time for other opportunity and a cheaper bill or something like that. She's belongs to the generation that actually trust, and when it's built, it's set it up. When you ruin up this connection, she was immediately after that communication asking me, did you hear what I was talking? And I told her, yes, I was next to you, obviously. And it's a very interesting for me. It's my job as well. So it was interesting for me to listen. And she was saying to me, please find a company, find for me another company. I would like to stop this contract.
Yeah.
I think they put €1 or €2 additional charge,
Yeah.
but you know on which way, Steve? They sent her an SMS.
Yeah.
It's 23rd, so it was few days ago. So mid-month. In the next month, you are going to have €2 more charge. No, it's just, by the contract, we have this right. It's the prices went up. That's their excuse.
Right.
I mean, and then, you have 15 years consumer with you, and you equally treat that one and the one who joined you half a year ago, that signed a new contract with you, and most probably will join another company once they pay their phone, because it's like 12 or 24 months. They are switching from one to another operator buying a phone. So you switch to another one when you are buying a new phone, basically. So that was really for me confirmation that, for example, in this case, they do not understand what does it mean like a loyalty.
Yeah.
And what are the segments, and what are the literally like people you don't touch. I mean, they are not forbidden to touch, obviously, but at least you smartly work on this, saying, I don't know, whatever. There are plenty of options. Waiting them to call you, or any other than just this cold SMS saying, guess what? Your contract is giving us an option to give you €2 more. And I mean, it's €2, it's nothing.
So this gets into the next line of conversation that we want to have here is, how does leveraging technology impact the customer experience, right? So smart technology, even if that happens and a call comes in like you're talking about, the agent should be empowered to say, hey, this is a customer we have a 15-year relationship with, right? I'm going to do whatever I can to make them happy. And I'm going to be empowered to say, let me just get rid of that couple of euros, right? You've been around. We love having you on board here. Like, how does technology and agent empowerment, I mean, human in the loop, right, is a big discussion these days in AI and new technology. So, how does technology and the human agent come together to solve the kind of issue that you just talked about?
And that's so amazingly important point, by the way, because everyone gets scared from AI, thinking that AI is going to steal our jobs.
Right.
Maybe one day AI will become a human. I don't know. I'm not an expert in that area. However, I still never realize, talking to the various bots or as a consumer or to the various companies who are having these tools, that actually there is this empathy in the way AI is helping us in. So as consumers, we are becoming much more demanding versus ever. So basically, for the same 1,000 customers or same 1,000 transactions, you start receiving more and more calls, emails, short messages, or whatsoever. So we in Avon at least would like to sort out this. You use AI to sort out exactly
Yeah.
those transactional,
Yeah.
emotional-less queries. What's my balance? Where's my order? Or something like that.
Yeah.
And then you let your team, your existing team, who is really knowledgeable one, you let them and you empower them to do exactly this what you are saying. Give
Yeah.
them a credit. No, madam, you are 15 years with us. As an anniversary gift, I'm ready to get rid of a next year. A next year. It's already a present. So you already communicate. From now, we come to this point. We might get rid of again, but in year from now, we come to this point. It's a communicated. However, we give you a new gift. And this, I'm not so confident that AI can handle that quickly in a near future. I mean, I would love to see that as well be handled, but I'm
Yeah.
not sure
Yeah.
that would be handled. But what AI can help us is quickly bringing this data, like she's 15 years with us. And then even sending a notification, a tone of voice of this consumer is not the most positive one. What you can do to help her or him becoming a more positive. So if give you that note, your agent is immediately pushed to become a more polite because sometime in a discussion you cannot clearly understand as much as tools can.
Yes.
If
Right.
this is a very polite discussion or a positive or a negative or where it's heading, not to mention that our calls, they must be recorded. So you can even realize you can have a recorded voice of that rep and from that understand whether they are excited or angry.
Right.
As an example, I saw a lot of tools already being developed that immediately agent is getting a signal if this is a cold conversation, a positive one,
Mm.
exciting one, want to be worried so they can switch. But I also saw some bots already with opportunity that you put them profile of the conversation they can do. So even bots can do some voiceover, being more positive, being neutral, being cold. You can order this. You can even order to which, like, okay, for a box, you don't need to be too excited. Where my box is. You cannot start being excited. Oh, you know, we lost your box. That would be horrible. You should be colder there. But if there are different type of the questions, you might be more excited. Even announcing, okay, I'm not ready to sort out this. Can I forward you to our agent, Emma? And then that might be with empowerment and with some excitement because we give them another level of a service. So AI is, from my perspective, here to help us being much smarter because at the market, there's a lot of companies competing and we must be much smarter than we used to be every day. Every
Yeah.
day you are competing against your services last day or month before or the year before because if you are not getting better services and if you are not getting smarter in a conversation, basically it's just becoming a boring conversation, boring call center, boring company as well because call center is a front face of the company. Yeah.
Absolutely. And, we all train our agents to take a negative situation, which typically most are when they call in, and turn it into a positive. Going back to the 15 years, like very negative situation with that call, right? But if you just recognized, wow, you've been with us. I just want to recognize you've been with us for 15 years. Thank you. I don't know if anybody said that to you lately. Thank you, right? All of a sudden, you've diffused and just give a couple of euros back. You've turned boom, negative to positive and maintained loyalty, right? That's a KPI. AI can track the sentiment of how it started, how it ended, right? We can create KPIs that we track how many conversations went from negative to positive, right? And so there's so much the point here I think you were making is leveraging technology to create an experience center and not just a contact center is at the crux of what kind of a strategy that the folks that are listening today have to employ. But there's so much out there, right? It's hard. Like we know we need to embrace AI, but how? And I would love to just ask you, as you're looking at all these technologies and you're Avon, right? You got people clamoring to help you, I'm sure. And you've looked at tons and tons of technologies. How do you think about it, right? How do you think about, or a suggestion to the audience that's listening here today, what are the two or three things that you could suggest to say, if you're starting down this path, here's a couple of tips I have for you? What would those
Yeah.
be?
Um, First of all, we must be sure what we are looking for.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, there are various technology, there are amazing companies outside there, but not every of these technology company fit your need, basically. So you have to be sure what you are looking for. That's why even in our tendering process, we have a step before observing the market, where we invite providers and give them a chance to present themselves, like what they believe they can do for us.
Yeah.
And for me, this is an enabler for any company to understand what they need. So instead of jumping immediately on what I need, we do this pre-step, understanding what is outside there. They are very smart companies. They are in a sales pitch. They will propose you what they believe it will work for you. And then your combined knowledge of your thinking what you need. And after those discussions, that's what you need. But that's not end of the story, because when you are sure what you need, and then you need to choose the company, because when you are clear what you need, there will be 5 companies that would
Yes.
help you
Yes.
in that, at least
Yes.
5. There is a plenty of companies, amazing companies that are working in this area. So you have to select one of 5. From my perspective, then you should be more selecting a partner whom you will partner in this, rather than who presents you well. So I would even count a bit on a trust, on synergies, on the vibe happening between 2 companies,
Yeah.
because they might be amazing technology company, but at the end they cannot convert on this what we were thinking, or vice versa. We might be just boring to them. Oh, we have this solution and that's it. We don't produce you anything else. So then actually in a step 2, you choose the partner. And when you choose the partner to work with, you have to let them know choosing your priorities. It's their area. It's us approving spend, time frame, and all other things. But it's their area of expertise. It's them knowing better. We have to trust them. They know better. They are in this field. We ask them for help. They cannot design for us something that actually, I mean, they can, but it might be 3 times more expensive just because of our imagination how process should look like, versus from the shelf ready solution or adjustable solution for us. So we have to let them working their job, which means proposing a right fit of the tools for us. Even the steps. You might tell them, my biggest issue is, I'm making it up, delivery. What I can do to automatize those calls, but not how.
Yeah.
It's them deciding what should be connected with what, how knowledge base should look like. Is it bot answering? Is it only chatting? Is it voice or bot? Because we have to trust those partners in their own field and their own experience. And let me put a challenge on table. If we know how, we would not need them. So it's
Right.
them.
Right. Right. Right.
It's them.
Yes.
And instead of us putting additional effort discovering what, we anyhow pay them to deliver for us something. So give them that task to deliver for you. This is what they were actually selling to us through the sales pitch.
So, in other words, don't treat them like a vendor. Treat them as a partner.
Exactly.
That's a great takeaway. You know, I actually I have one last question, and it's a question that I hope has a 30 to 45-second answer, but it's going to be the hardest question I've asked yet. So here's the question. We've covered so much territory here. If there was one takeaway that you wanted your peer community that's watching this podcast today to take away, what would that one thing be?
You just mentioned that vendors are partners,
Yep.
and they are. If you have a just vendor, you better look for a partner in next
Mm,
wave if you
mm,
feel, because again, amazing companies, you just don't match at one moment, and that's completely fine. We are professionals, we have to close the doors properly because in upcoming period those might be open again.
yep,
But key point is, if you are working with your partner, it's a partner, it's your team.
yep,
So what I believe is actually we have to treat each other as the same team, because sales pitch, revenue, deals, who earn what from whom, that's done on a moment we sign the contract. That's
yep,
done. There is no
yep,
more competing. From that moment, you are one team and you should take care of them equally as anyone within your organization. That's it. Treating with respect as a real partner. So, from my
mm,
perspective, and I really make an effort for this, I do know our partners, I know all the colleagues we work with, and basically, from my perspective, I am free to ask my team member or a partner team member almost the same question, the same way. No
yeah,
hidden agenda, because contract is signed long time ago, no competing.
right.
It's not an invoicing momentum. It's nothing. I mean, we have to work upcoming few years to make that partnership just better. So from my perspective, it's that. And by the way, if I feel treated like that, that's my signal that it's a right partner. If I feel
Mm,
treated just as a revenue generator to someone else, it's not my partner.
right.
And that's completely fine because companies are having different approach. I just don't become a loyal customer.
Yeah.
And that's completely fair. They choose that strategy and I have my choices. For me, it's a fair play, honestly speaking.
Well, I have to tell you, this has been so full of fresh perspectives on how we should rethink from our partnership to how we generate revenue, how do we advocate for ourselves, how do we put the voice of the customer at the forefront and not just rely on the tickets, talk to the 90%, not the 10%. I just wanted to say the mission of this podcast is to bring different perspectives and insights together. And if we can do that, that's the rising tide that lifts all boats and helps the entire industry. And I think you were an incredibly important part of that rising tide today. So I just wanted to say thank you for coming on.
That's amazing. Thanks a lot, Steve. Thanks for the invitation. I'm so empowered by being your guest again. And again, looking forward to the peers connections and any other forum and discussion where actually we can exchange those, because, there is no 100% right opinion, or it's just like when we keep challenging each other and stretching ourselves to be better and better, we are moving to the right direction. So some of us might be too fast, which is not good. Some of us might be too slow, which is also not good. But then when we start discussing with each other, it's actually giving this balance, because right thing at the right time is actually the best decision at the moment. So I really enjoy listening other podcasts and I look forward being connected with the peers around on those topics.